it's spring and last Sunday, March 20th, was the equinox, and now it's spring. The days are getting longer, the temperatures are getting warmer, and it's time to get out and play. And there's a lot of things going on in the world, in Ukraine, and there's 70 places around the world where there's violence, and we have sadness in our own families. But there's still that joy, that divine joy of just being alive that cannot be suppressed. With the song "Feeling Good," it was originally came from the show, "The Smell of the Grease Paint and the Roar of the Crowd," 1964. But Nina Simone really made it her own, right? River running free, blossom on a tree, feeling good, right? So it was definitely spring in the garden at my house this weekend. We had 3 Stella Jays that were flying around, I think deciding how to pair up. One of them I saw off looking for a nest somewhere. The chickmunks were just enjoying basking in the sun, and the first daffodils were in bloom. So it was a really gorgeous day. And so God is playing with all of those beautiful colors and the new life, right? God is at play, right? Now, spring is a time when people like to play together. We are so happy together, which is our topic for today. Nancy and her family are bicycling together, and Michael, his son Jed, and his wife are visiting us today. They hiked at Eagle Falls yesterday, and although there was too much snow to make it all the way up, but they still, without snowshoes, they still got to enjoy the falls and really get in touch with that nature again. Jed had a lot of memories from his childhood of that spot. And how many of you have been out walking in the sunshine this week? At least once. It's just gorgeous out there, right? So joy that we feel is an expression of that divine within. Charles Schaeffer was an American psychologist who was known as the father of play therapy, and he said, "We are never more fully alive, more completely ourselves, or more deeply engrossed in anything than we are playing." Right? When we play, we open up and we give people a glance into our heart because we're fully present. We let go of any masks that we use to disguise ourselves, right? We let go of those filters that restrict our actions to those orderly and dignified ways. When I was 12 years old, I have a picture of myself. It was Easter. I had this green and kind of flowered green dress, whatever. And I'm sitting on the porch, and I have my dress perfectly laid out in a whole half circle. And my knees are together, my hands are together, and I am the oldest looking I have ever looked in my entire life. I really wanted to be grown up, right? But when we play, we express the freedom, the creativity, and the joy of our authentic selves, of our divine nature, who we truly are. Now, there's something called a 30-second dance button. And so for $26, you can push a button that looks like there's one that used to say easy. Well, this one's yellow, bright yellow. And so it'll play 5 different 30-second songs for a spontaneous dance party. And so for 30 seconds, you're supposed to dance like crazy, right? And they have the new motions now of hip hop and so forth. But you set the buttons up in your office, and then watch people who are walking around, and suddenly this guy comes up in his tie, and you see on the internet they walk up in their tie and they see the button, they go, oh, 30-second dance button. And so for 30 seconds, and then they straighten up and walk up, right? So, in the junior high math teacher, they can suddenly become the teacher of the year. All they need is a 30-second dance button. And so when the students get that glazed over look, bong, off they go. And the students are all up, right? So, but hearing about it isn't nearly as much fun as playing together ourselves. So I don't have a 30-second dance button, but I have something that's just as good or maybe better for Science of Mind people. And so I'd like everyone to stand up, whether you're at home or you're here, and make sure you have some space around you if you're close to someone. And so are you ready? All right, everybody ready? Okay, Savannah, hit it.
I'm so grateful I'm alive. 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 Oh yeah.
30 seconds. 30 seconds, yeah. Yeah. So thank you, Floyd Lula. Gary Lynn Floyd and Jamie Lula. I'm so grateful I'm alive. That's one of their songs. That was the kickoff song when they had a song release, and that was the recording from when they were in person. The American Dance Movement Foundation is taking this idea even further with a National Day of Dance. So every year in September, I think it's about the 5th or 6th year now, um, they have the National Day of Dance. And so last year, they had two choreographers that normally work for pop singer Ariana Grande, and they started put together a dance routine, and then they put together about a 30-minute training video so people could learn how to do the video. And so then on the National Day of Dance, everyone around the country films themselves doing this routine, wherever they are. And they put them up on the website. And then they also have two special outdoor flash dance mobs. So one of them is at the Kennedy Center in New York, and the other one is at the Segerstrom Center for the Performing Arts in Orange County, where Michael and I live. They have this great, beautiful, big plaza. And so it's a great thing that they're doing. They're planning it again for 2022. So I don't know if our center wants to do that or not, but it might be kind of fun. But dancing is a wonderful way to express joy and play together, right? Dancing together changes relationships, and it builds community. So, but before we can play together, we have to be willing to come out and play, right? That's a prerequisite. So, Ernest Holmes, in the book A New Design for Living, he said, the present moment can never provide us with more joy than we are able to embody, right? So it's up to us to open up our heart, right? And in Disney's movie Frozen, there's a song, Do You Want to Build a Snowman? If you remember that song. And Anna, it starts at age 5, and she knocks on the door of her sister's bedroom trying to convince Elsa to come out and play, but to no avail. And she tries again when she's 9 and when she's 15, and Elsa just is in her room. You know, when anything she touches turns to ice. So Anna's left alone in that vast castle, having to entertain herself, and her only playmates are the characters in the paintings, right? So when we come out to play, we have to let our inner child out and be vulnerable, right? In return, we open ourselves to that opportunity to be happy and to share that happiness, our joy, with others, and they with us. So in the reading from this morning, Be Happy, Ernest Holmes, he was one of the things that characterized him is that he was a very happy man. And when you walked into the room, he just warmed up the room. You just felt good. And because he really lived in that space of wholeness, of letting the divine spirit, the light, shine through him, right? And so he's in that reading, he said, the person who is always glad will surround themselves with people who are happy, and life will be a continual enjoyment. And he goes on to say, your very atmosphere will cheer and uplift the people who contact you, and a new life will enter into them. Overflow. Let that divine spirit overflow, because it's full to overflowing, because it's infinite, right? Now, let me get some water here. You know, by playing together, we create an opportunity to build relationships that have meaning and joy. The joy of being alive, reveal the joyful God, right? Now, when we share life's cherished moments together, it's weddings, you know, birth of a baby, graduations of all kinds, and all these wonderful things happening. We don't like to be alone. We like to share our joy with other people. and it brings us together. We don't have to wait for special occasions, though, to play together. Play is a sacred act, really, a spiritual practice that serves us all. Sharing joyful time together as we allow our inner child to come out and play not is only healing for our own heart and soul, but it allows us to create happy, meaningful, and loving relationships that sustain healthy communities. Once forged through playful, happy times, these great relationships, these strong, loving, affirming relationships are there when the difficult times hit. And then we seek to move creatively through those challenges with kindness, with understanding and flexibility. We know each other when we're strong, and we make it safe to feel vulnerable, right? Play is a component of healthy living. As children, we play all the time, right? We grow up and think we're too dignified until that 30-second dance button goes off, right? But that, playtime was much more sacred than we ever knew at the time when we were children. In Winnie the Pooh, A. Milne, great author, I loved this book as a kid, still do, we didn't realize we were making memories. We just knew we were having fun. Right? In the book Help for Today, Ernest Holmes says, if we feel, then, that we are simple onlookers and not participants in the game of life, we should rediscover the youthful spirit of that childlike joy, which gives us the energy, happiness, security, and faith we had as children. Right? It reconnects us with that place within. And so we have this safety, that we have with our friends. And a lot of these childhood friends that we create, they stay with us our whole lives. That longevity of a relationship. And so we give each other, that joy. And, when something happens, the joy and the laughter, sometimes the play, gives us that place to heal something that happens, We're not the same people we were. My parents used to reinvent their marriage every 10 years because they were different people. And so they would renegotiate who did what, right? And so, and I know with Michael and I, we're going to have our 15th anniversary being together in May 1st. And so, and we're not the same people. And so we have to renegotiate. And it's something that we cherish, because it does bring so much joy, right? And with our families, this is our pathway to reconnect with that playing together and fun. And, and family game night is a wonderful thing that you can do. There's so many cooperative games now. When I was a kid, we were all kids, it was always all of these games that were very competitive, and Monopoly was one that was really competitive. And I can remember when we were playing with my sister and I and my parents, and my mom went bankrupt. And my sister was about 5 or 6 out of 7, somewhere in there. But she was just so distraught that she was just crying, and she went to her room, and so when they brought her back in, somehow she had sold some houses, or somebody gave her some money. I don't know what happened, but she was back in the game, and my sister was okay, and we could play. And then when I was an adult and I was married to my first husband, and I was really pretty good at playing Monopoly and the strategy and so forth. Well, he was very good too, and he never lost until he met me. And so he would normally, but he was very intimidating when you would play with him. And so you kind of, you wouldn't necessarily think as well as you normally would, right? So one time I decided that I was going to be steely, and whatever happened, I was prepared. And so I stared him down, and I won. We never played it again. He refused. Right? So, but knowing all of this that happens, they now have these great cooperative games. You can interact. There's some that you interact physically, and then there's cooperative games that you can actually purchase that are board games now. A lot of them come out of Europe. Europe, and they started being popular after World War II, when they had all of this antagonism that they wanted to get over. They needed to heal it. The PTSD, they didn't want to be at war with each other and play Risk. They wanted, so in these cooperative games, you have to have everybody playing from the start to the end, because you do things like solve a mystery together, or just, you kick out the ghosts out of your house. Or there's one about Harry Potter, and all the different students get together to fight off whatever it is that they need to do. So it's really about coming together and healing. You can get quick ones for younger kids, or if people just drop in, or you can get some longer ones that'll take a whole weekend to get through, right? So it's something, a different way of being. And so it comes back to learning to play together, but also making that space just to be together, to make it okay to just be, right? When we play together collectively as a center, it builds a sense of community for our center, for our spiritual community, right? Of belonging together. And that's an important part of a spiritual community. I mean, one of the things that I'm really looking forward to about being back together in the sanctuary is that Zoom is much better than just talking to someone on the phone. But that feeling of being together is so much more powerful when we're in person. When you get those little subtle cues of the smile and a hug. Hug is, virtual hugs are kind of okay, but and seeing someone be able to laugh and smile, but to be in person, to be real, to be present is an important part of it. And so when we play together, we can also be creative together, right? And so when we play, we hold each other differently. There's a feeling that we can all be part of the same team. We're moving together to implement our common vision with love and with joy, right? We become a deeper form of family. Our vision for our center is embracing all and serving with love while awakening to the one, right? And so that's a very empowering thing to do together. It's one thing to do it by yourself in your personal spiritual practice, but meditating together in a room is so much more powerful. It goes so much deeper, right? And so that desire to build community rather than division is one reason that we're moving together. It was the way the UN was created in the first place. I read something yesterday that when the Cold War ended in 1991, this has been the longest period without really serious worldwide conflicts in the history of humans. Before, there was always some kind of war going on. And now, I think one reason we're so distraught about what's going on in Ukraine is because it's stopped that trend. We thought with the UN we were going to be able to live together in peace. And economically, we're so interwoven as a world economy that the idea that someone would start invading someone because they want, this is my country, not yours. Well, no. I mean, we're built on sharing and mutual trust and cooperation. And so this is why everyone has been praying so ardently for peace in Ukraine. So there's a wonderful dance team that came together that's an example of this cooperative play that they can do together. And it's a team called Hip Operation. Dance team, they have 26 seniors. They live on an island called Waiheke Island off of Auckland, New Zealand. And their ages 67 to 95. Average age 80. All right? So they're senior center. They was kind of glum. And there was a few life sparks, but mostly just glum and kind of a lot of aches and not moving too much and so forth. And they had a new person come into the center, Joanna, as the activities director. And she had an idea. What if we tried a little hip hop? So some of them were doing it seat in their chairs, and some of them were standing up and whatever. And they they didn't do the same movements that a 20-year-old would do, but they were starting to get into it, and so they really liked it, and they were had a passion for living and coming. Their attendance increased. They wanted to be there every day, right? And their lives transformed as they exercised together, and they got over their stage fright. Some of them, and some of them had been dancers since they were young, and they got back into. They got their old costumes out of and it was really bringing the whole thing together. Well, they worked really hard at it, and Joanna applied for them to be in the national hip hop competition in Las Vegas, and they got accepted. So in August of 2013, there's this great movie that's been made about how they practiced and went together, how the lives were transformed, and what they did to get to Las Vegas and to save up the money and donations that came in and so forth. And so when they performed, everybody was kind of snickering and stuff in the back. But when they got through dancing, they got a standing ovation because they were good, right? They were what was there's I forget. I have the movie, so we could watch it some night. But I'm bad, I'm bad kind of thing. And they, and they looked like hip hop dancers the way they were dressed and everything in their iridescent green and socks and all that kind of stuff. So it was something that made a difference. But they did it together as a community, and that's what made it so special. They were playing, and so they were very much alive. And so here at CSL Tahoe-Truckee, this is something that we can do. And we have lots of things that we would like to do to play. I mean, last summer, the Smoke had some ideas, and we had some good things planned. So this year, we are going to go kayaking, I'm sure, right? And we're going to have a drum circle in June. And we've got some great classes and events that are going to come. And so we can play together. We are a joyful community. Life is good, right? And we intend to live it together. So this week, with the sacred wonder of joy and love in your heart, explore the ways that you can share a life of play with your loved ones. Find a partner to dance with, or dance by yourself, right, with a mirror. Go hiking or bicycling in the spring sunshine. Laugh at silly jokes, and carry this energy into our entire spiritual community. Let's play and be the gateway into greater, deeper relationships. Let's take this to prayer. So as we turn within, we remember that God is joy, that deep bliss that is always there underneath the surface. And as we dive deep into that joy, we let ourselves go and let God embrace us and love us and let that joy come out. It is spring. We see God at play everywhere. In the color of the birds, of the flowers, of the lake, of the green in the pine trees and the deciduous trees as they start to come back. There is new life. New life. All around us. And it's like a reawakening within ourselves. We allow that divine joy to spring forth from within us and let it overflow into the world. We share it with our loved ones, with our friends. We play together and grow closer. The family ties are strengthened and reinforced, and yet are loose enough to give us space to be ourselves and to be whole. To go through those tough times and know that we are there to be embraced. Our family, our loved ones are there to hold us dearly. And then we come out and joy together, and maybe next time we are the one that is embracing someone who is in sadness. but it is that joy that is always there, fueling it, that divine love that is always present. And this is also true of our spiritual center, the Center for Spiritual Living Tahoe-Truckee. Joy, play, bring us closer together as a family so that we can open up to be all that God has intended to us to be. We are grateful to be alive, to be filled with joy. We are so grateful to play together, to build happy and healthy and joyful relationships. We are grateful to be here for each other and for our spiritual community. We are ready to move into the future in person, safely, as we fulfill our mission to manifest our vision, embracing all and serving with love while awakening to the One. Life is fantastic. Life is full of joy. In joy we play together. We are happy together. Thank you, Father, Mother, God. And as we let go and let God, it is unfolding right now. And so it is. And so we let it be.